Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast with Ronak and Aparna. So, today the topic for our discussion is what is call 911? Why do we need call 911? And what is emergency now? So, one day, while busy working, a worker at an oil and gas refinery met with an accident. His colleague, with much grief and shock, calls 911 hurriedly. But the call did not go through. He panicked. Why do you think the call did not connect? An employee calls 911 using a MS Teams soft phone using his enterprise's network. How do you think PSAP gets the exact location of the user? Sales employee move from location to location and they need the capability on their phone to call the correct PSAP in case of emergency. How is all of it possible? Before we answer these questions, it is very important to understand US Federal Communications Commission laws for 911 calling. What is US FCC laws? Ronak, what do we know about these?
Sure, and it's important to understand that these laws only apply to United States and that region. There are different regions might have different laws, but US follows US FCC laws for 911, and there are primarily two major laws that got released a couple of years ago. One is Kari's law, and the other one is Baum's Act. Kari's law means that there are two things that you need to follow carriage law. One is direct 911 dialing. That means you can't have a prefix before 911 for calling the 911 number. And the other is notification capabilities. What it means is when you're calling 911, you need to give the exact location of the user through the call. And definitely a valid callback number in case the 911 call disconnects in between. So this is Kari's law. Baum's Act. Baum's Act is about dispatchable location. So when I say dispatchable location, it means that when a user is calling 911, they need to exactly share the location from where they are calling. So it could be, east wing of a floor 5, building 1, and some address, some physical address. So you need to exactly share the location. And again, from a Kari's law perspective, you also need to alert local security in the office. So you need to have a way, either by a chat or a call, a call which is forked when you're calling 911. You need to have the local security know about that call, and this is part of Kari's law.
Okay, so now once we know the law, what do? We follow it. But yeah, jokes apart, as the organizations are running heterogeneous platforms with a mix of on-premise and cloud, how do we make sure that we follow it for safety of our employees? So to follow it, we need to understand the technicalities and how it can be implemented in your UC solution. There are certain technical jargons, I suppose. Ronak, please correct me wherever I'm wrong. There are certain technical jargons that we need to follow to understand this. As you mentioned clearly, there has to be a dispatch address, there has to be an emergency address and emergency location. When we talk about emergency address is a basic civic address. Let's suppose at a place there are 4 buildings, building 1, 2, 3, 4. So that becomes your emergency address, that this is the address of the particular place from where we are calling. Then there is emergency location. When we talk about emergency location, we drill down to the point whether it's building 1 or it's building 2 or it's 3 or it's 4 to basically understand where the exact location falls. Then we have the dispatchable location. Before understanding the dispatchable location, there is another jargon which is called as place. Like emergency address and emergency location, place is a precise point from where the call is coming through. That could be a floor number, that could be a wing or office number. Then we have dispatchable location. That describes both a civic address plus the specific information such as building floor, suite room, etc. Then we have the registered address, an emergency address that is assigned to each user. A registered address could sometimes be referred to a static emergency address or the address of the record. Then we also have dynamic location. a location information service, a database within Teams, which is queried for location information at the time of an emergency call. And I know I'm missing out on a lot of things. What are those, Ronak? If you could just throw some light on those.
Yeah, and just to correct Aparna, dynamic location can be built within its own PBX. Now, if it's Teams, you need to build that build that location information within Teams. If it's Cisco Call Manager, you need to do that within Cisco Call Manager. Zoom, it could be somewhere else, some other terminology used in Zoom. So dynamic location is built per type of PBX. From a network point of view, there are few things that needs to be factored. One is the trusted IP address. Trusted IP address is an external IP address of or a public IP address of that location. So when you call 911, if you have that configured in your PBX, the PBX will know if the call is coming from the office or outside the office. Then the network subnet. So most of the times, organizations have the buildings divided into different subnets, the floors divided into different subnets, network subnets. So that needs to be configured, which is helpful in creating a virtual virtual location for that building or the floor. Then there is network site, there is network region. So you club all of these together to create a location database within your PBXs, which helps you determine the actual location of the call. And that is mapped with the physical aspects of or physical addresses. So a complete location information database is built in the backend. The information, so when a user picks up the phone and calls 911, for example, on Microsoft Teams, the information is traversed through a PIDLO packet, which is part of the SIP packet. Overall, PIDLO means presence information data format location object is added in the payload of the SIP payload that is shared. And then the other thing is ESRP and ELIN. ESRP in US, apart from the regular service providers like AT&T, Verizon, and so on, there are other emergency routing service providers like Bandwidth and Trado, which helps you send the emergency address location information to the PSAPs. And then there is ELIN. ELIN is when you call 911, and if in case the call gets disconnected, the PSAP gets the callback number through this ELIN information, and they can use that to call back the same user. So these are some of the technicalities of the solution. Obviously, different PBXs, the configuration might differ and how it is configured, but these are some of the high level technical jargons used in this. I hope the information on E911 that you have now, you'll be able to look at how you can configure PBXs is helpful. Thank you.